bourbon distillers, they sort of cringe
Yes, I
when
know. I know
when
this.
somebody mentions blending, because of the connection with a blend of whiskey, which could be a blend of a bourbon, a straight rye, a straight barley whiskey, light whiskeys, continuous light whiskey, batch light whiskeys, grain neutral spirits. All of these. Blended whiskey can use a percentage, it's a non-potable wine. In the formula, I think it's been many, many years, I think it's up to about 2.4%. They use caramel to get the color consistency. Whereas this is 100% natural. Blended whiskeys are much more consistent because they have so many variables they're blending together. Now, so yeah, we've got 10 recipes and literally we blend those together, but don't confuse that with a blend. Don't confuse it with this stuff over here.
Well, I think part of it too is I have this sort of, I think we're moving past that to the point where a lot of the consumers, especially maybe folks that are my age. I'm in my mid-30s, and so I've been, the time Four Roses began its emergence back into the U.S. markets when I started really consuming whiskey seriously, and so I think that you've got a younger population, younger group that are looking at High West. Blends David Perkins, yes, blends a blend of straight ryes and puts that out. Very fantastic. I know I believe you are friends with David, and David worked with you for some time. So I think people are starting through a couple of these sorts of things. Are starting to get past this whole old connotation of blending garbage, basically, way back when. What it really does for you guys, I guess, is just gives you a lot of straight bourbons, different recipes and flavors that you guys can marry together, get the right thing you're looking for.
Right, and I've had, with the 10 recipes, 10 unique flavors, literally we blend them in different, and we run experiments. Like with every year, we will come up and have in September a limited edition small batch bourbon. And it can be a combination of 2 of our recipes or all 10 different proportions. Again, there's an infinite number of ways we can mingle or blend them together to come up with something different. I've had some of my Scotch friends. I've done a lot of tastings in Europe and Asia, as well as here. A lot of Scotch friends will tell me that Four Roses is more like a Scotch than any other bourbon, because with the blended scotches, now I think, now I could be wrong here, but I think there's the last time somebody told us maybe 96 Scotch distilleries, and so they trade, barter, however they barrels among each other, and you very rarely ever hear of a master distiller. You hear of a master blender, because then that blender would take barrels of scotch from maybe 10, 15 distilleries, come up with their own blend of scotch, something unique to this one distillery right here. And
very common over there, but not something in this country that we're anywhere close to.
And that's why they say, well, we're more like that than anybody else, because of the 10 recipes. We take these 10 recipes, rather than from 10 different distilleries, we're all from one distillery, and we can use those in different ways to always come up with something with our own unique brand, and every one of our brands is going to be unique from another Four Roses bottle that you see a Four Roses label on. They're all going to be different.
And you control it. I mean, because you're doing all those different recipes. It all, you guys have your walls around that in terms of you're not going outside. It's all in house. We had talked earlier today about you'd made up a great point about in terms of the way the growth is happening for Four Roses and getting the brand back to prominence. Which obviously, I mean, you guys were the Distiller of the Year by Whiskey Magazine this year. I guess it was named this year for 2010, but it's 2011 Distiller of the Year.
Right.
So obviously, I mean, that's a huge accomplishment. The probably largest whiskey publication in the world. And so clearly, lots of work paying off here. But you mentioned earlier when we were talking before we started putting this on camera, we were talking about sort of the growth and making sure that you guys are growing the right way and not too much too quickly. What about a rye? I mean, is there a chance that this public Because I mean, a company that produces the highest rye mash bill around obviously would be pretty well suited to making a straight rye whiskey for sure. Is that something you guys are thinking about long
Actually,
term?
any straight whiskey definition, same definitions apply. It has to be as to a straight bourbon whiskey. It has to be distilled at less than 160 proof. It has to be aged in a brand new oak barrel. Each and every time charred on the inside. The maximum strength in barrels 125 proof. We could add 16% to our recipe that has 35% rye. Take that out of corn, we'd have a straight rye whiskey.
Gotcha.
And will we? I sure hope so. Have we been trying? It's something I've been trying, encouraging for quite a few years now. I would love to see it. And to me, we need to, unfortunately, I'm not sure, I'm in my 45th year. And how many more years? I love what I do, and but at my age, somebody been around that long, you never know. But I'd love to see it before I retire. In reality, seeing it may be just distilling it, because once we distill it, I think rye has to age a little bit longer. Where bourbon peaks between 6 and 8, we talked earlier. Maybe rye's a little bit older.
Awesome.
And let's say that if we distilled something this year, straight rye, which we're not, because we're still trying to get to that point where we can do it. It might be 2018, if even distilled this year, before it would be ready to put in a bottle. So hopefully, but even if we were to start today, it's going to probably be 6-7 years, 6 minimum, maybe 7 or longer down the road before.
Well, I tell you, I hope one day we can, because you look at the rye, you see Whistle Pig and some of these other products that have come on, and I obviously would love to see. I'm a big fan of it. I've enjoyed a number of the ryes that have come out. It's a great cocktail spirit. But it's just one of those. You guys have a lot of great products. It's just one of those wish list things I'd like to wanted to bring up.
We could my goes come out at 16% or 17% and have a 51-52% rye, or we could add more. I'm just saying that's all we would have to do. But then I just dream about getting to that point, and then we could have a straight rye whiskey with our V yeast that we're using in single barrel. But how about adding the K yeast that generates spiciness to a rye whiskey, straight rye whiskey? Wow, that would be absolutely unbelievable.
Absolutely.
And or say a rye whiskey with a floral essence.
All right, I agree.
It's amazing the things we could do.
Certainly.
And,
that's why
I'd love to see it.
Can't
promise you, can't tell you anything for sure, other than I can tell you that we've been trying for quite a while now.
All right.
To make it happen.
Well, just a few more questions. There's this craft movement, the craft spirits, small guys coming out. Do you guys pay attention to much of that? I mean, is it one of those things where you got the priorities on your plate, and that's where your focus is? Spend much time looking at what's out there, or anything in that space?
Actually, David Perkins contacted me quite a few years ago when it was just some ideas spinning. He's a super guy, very intelligent, very passionate. And he came out to the distillery several times. I went out to Park City with him in the planning stages, and I was proud to work with him. Some people said, "Well, you're crazy. You're helping a competitor." And I honestly feel like the small boutique distilleries, they're helping grow the bourbon name. If Bourbon David with his High West brands bring some recognition to bourbon that might not have been achieved somewhere else, it helps us all.
Absolutely.
And we're all friends, and somebody once told me, it's been years and years ago, I heard somebody talking about this little bitty tiny beverage alcohol company, soft drink company that was making a new beverage drink for the market, and what somebody was thinking about it, and I remember the comment, gosh, this goes back 20 years or more. But the comment was, he says, I don't think that the president of Coca-Cola is waking up in cold sweat, worried about this little bitty tiny brand. And it's not that the little tiny brands, to me, is not direct competition with the big guys, and we're not a real big guy, but we're a lot larger than the small guys. But to me, they all help bourbon, the bourbon industry, and if anybody helps the bourbon industry, we all benefit from that, and that's the way I look at it. And somebody calls me and asks me a question, a technical question or whatever, if I have the ability to answer it, I sure will.
I read that about a lot of the master distillers, that there's sort of this little fraternity, really.
Well, the camaraderie among us is just absolutely amazing. You will never hear myself, or hopefully no one in the business, if I can't convince somebody to try Four Roses bourbon on its own merits, of the smoothness and the mellowness and the 10 recipes, I'm sure as heck not going to say anything, well, it's better than such and such, because not in a million years. In fact, if somebody comes on and tries one of our bourbons and they say, well, it's not got the flavor, this kind of flavor, tell me what you're looking for, and I'll send them over to this direction to grab it. And
that's a rarity too in this world, that we live in. That is a rarity.
We love our industry. We're proud of our industry and proud of what we do. There's art, there's technologies involved, and we're just so thankful to be a part of it. And anybody, whether it be that we've started off this with the small boutique distilleries, but I've had some guys call me with technical questions about, such and such is happening in fermentation. I've never seen this. Have you ever seen it? Or if I would see something with the grain issue, grain problems, supply sources that we're running into, call every distiller and tell them, hey, we've got to watch for the corn this year, or we've got to watch for the rye or wheat or whatever. There's maybe a little bit something wrong, and oftentimes we get together and for dinner or something, and we might each take one of our own bottles with us, and the only requirement of that night, bring a bottle. But when we're all sitting around, we're eating, talking, cutting up, we're seeing who tells the biggest lies or whatever. But the only requirement is you can drink all night, and we don't drink that much, but you can't drink your own.
Don't touch your own.
You can't have your own. You drink one of the
others. That's a good plan.
And that's the relationship we have.
I'm sure those are fun.
And that's why you get into these positions. A lot of people ask me, what's it take to be a master distiller? And I used to say, well, the first prerequisite, you got to be old. It's not easy to get into it. And once we do get into it, even if you start young, you don't want to ever give it up, because it's fun. It's not work. And we love what we do. And we certainly appreciate all the other people in our industry.
Absolutely. Well,